Yeah, we actually designed the headset to have a halo top so that you could put your hair up.
Okay.
We have a lot of female pilots like within the Air Force, and that was something they really like because most of the other headsets that are consumer grade just have straps that come all the way back down the center, which makes it really hard for anybody with longer hair.
A lot of people, they've seen them, maybe they've tried them out once or twice, but this is a lot different from anyone, unless they've tried this one, it's a lot different. So what makes this so different?
Yeah, so we're really excited. We just launched our 4th generation series of products, the XR4, and this is the most advanced headset in the world. And so there's a couple things that go into making it so differentiated. Many of the components and displays and cameras are the highest end, many cases custom made for professional enterprise application in mind. And so we're not a consumer or gaming oriented headset where most of the consumer grade headsets are focused on that space, where you're looking at how do I get the best possible headset at the lowest cost. We're looking at how do we make the best headset possible that solves the most advanced, hardest problems that the industrial, government, and enterprise user base is trying to solve with immersive technology.
I want to do something kind of rapid fire.
Sure.
I want you, and it doesn't have to be like so fast that you sound like you're like a, but kind of fast. All of the applications that it's being used for, like, military, healthcare, like, can you list off as many as you possibly can at once?
Sure, so I think the best way of doing it is in categories. So you have training and simulation as one huge category. Then you've got design and engineering. Then you've got research. Within each of these, there's a ton of different types of things that one would do within it. And so you've got, training pilots. You've got training and simulating things on the ground for ground-based vehicular training or mission planning. You've got manufacturing, you've got medical, you've got the interest for location-based entertainment, you've got the media and entertainment that are doing scouting for movies, you've got, the list goes really on and on and on. So you've got oil and gas and energy, you've got education, you've got, really so many different applications that people are using this type of technology for.
And it's being developed partially here in Arlington, right? Because it's Finland and Arlington, right?
So everything's being made, produced, and designed and manufactured in Finland. And then we have a large presence here in Arlington. So our US headquarters is here, where we focus on helping expand this region, work with our customers and our partners here in North America.
And I think that's so important, especially when we're talking about the military, and this is a very big military area. A lot of people will say, okay, military, they need to be using American-made products, so you've got this America presence. What do you want people to kind of know, especially when it comes to the military arm, about what's being used, making sure that it's not getting into other people's hands?
Sure. Yeah, so I think the most important thing and why the US government trusts and works so closely with us, we work deeply across all branches within the US DoD as well as DOE and other parts of the US government. And one of the things that they come to us for is because we don't focus on gaming and the consumer audience where data collection is key, we focus only on working with the most secure environments. And so we have a whole facility in Finland that is TAA certified, so it's military grade. It's goes through all of the checks and balances and security kind of consideration, so it's able to be approved, for NATO-based, countries to be able to purchase safely and securely, and everything that our headset's used for is offline, and so it can go into secure spaces. You can remove radio components. This is a major focus and a big differentiator for us is the way that we approach security, and the fact that Finland's joined NATO has been a big boost and enabler for also helping make this even easier for the government, for the US and other NATO nations to be able to purchase and use and deploy.
There's a lot, and I do our alert desk as well in the morning, so I focus a lot on international conflicts, and one of the big things that kept being brought up is that the US would be providing training to troops. There was a very big back and forth between the US and Russia on whether those fighter planes would be sent to Ukraine and how the training would happen. So is that how the training's happening, is with VR headsets?
Certainly immersive and VR is one great solution for it, and so absolutely.
Have you gotten a chance to travel there or to see how it's being used in the field in Ukraine?
No, I haven't personally. but I have been able to travel to different bases across the US where it's being used for training simulation, and it's really remarkable. I mean, these are in use in major programs, over 70 programs across the world that are not just in kind of testing facilities or prototypes. These are being deployed at scale to be able to help, train and enable, our defense forces.
If you have an example of, let's just maybe come up with a scenario of one fighter pilot, how long would it take to train without this technology, and then now how quickly it's being done?
Sure. So there's been lots of studies in terms of the efficacy and also the increase of time to be able to be trained. And so we're seeing studies that go 70, 80% of the shortening cycles for being able to get pilots ready for a certain task, or to be able to be early to start to get into a real aircraft earlier. And so it doesn't necessarily replace all of the training capabilities. At some point you're going to need to get into the actual aircraft, but that you can get more cycles and more repetitions more quickly in a safe, cost-effective way before you actually get into the aircraft has been great for safety as well as for speeding up the time to be able to be efficient and effective.
How long did it used to be, and then how long is it now?
I don't have the exact details in some of these circumstances, but it's decreased it by 60, 70, 80% in many of these scenarios.
It's my understanding this is the only headset that does that?
So there's other headsets that have eye tracking that have the ability to track where your eyes are looking. That's used for all sorts of biometric data collection as well as for performance enhancement. So we've got this thing called foveated rendering, where everywhere your eye looks, it's just processing this really high resolution photorealistic content in rendering that in just that area, and as opposed to everywhere, so helps with performance. What we have done that's been very kind of unique and revolutionary is that we've used this now for gaze-based tracking for the video camera pass-through. And so the two of the things that make our headset most unique is we have human eye resolution VR, so everything that you see that's virtual content looks the same way that your eye would see it in the real world, which is pretty amazing. And the second big thing is we have video pass-through, so you're able to see the world with the way that your eye would see it, and you're able to blend the two together. And so with the video pass-through, it's got gaze-based tracking where everywhere you look is really high resolution. And so this is really unique. So if you need to see an object that's in the distance or close by, you're able to see both in crisp, clear resolution.
So someone like with me or you, where our eyesight isn't perfect, does this make us feel like we have perfect eyesight?
It does have some corrective characteristics actually, but what this actually will feel like more is we're trying to replicate the experience of what it feels like with your own eye. So if your eyes don't have 20/20 vision, then you probably won't see it through the video pass-through that way as well. There could be some corrective, but it's replicating the same way that when we see something in the distance and we're not looking at it directly in a periphery, it's a little bit blurry and out of focus. While when I look at you, it's really in focus. The same way when my eye tracks in the headset, the things that are out of focus are not in focus, and the things that I'm looking at directly are clear. And that's a real big advancement with pass-through, because there's limitations of kind of the focus range of typical cameras, where if you want to look at something far away, it's going to be a little bit blurry. But now being able to track where our eyes specifically are looking in combination with our LiDAR sensors that are able to map the room around us, you're able to really get accurate occlusion and identification of the space so that we can replicate the way the eye works through our headset. So I think that we focused a lot on the military aspect, which is a large part of what we do, but I think one of the other really exciting areas that we've seen is around design engineering. And so, for example, a leader in this space is the automotives. We work with the top 16 non-Chinese automotive companies in the world, and what they're using this for is to take 3D assets and models that they're working on a 2D screen, and before having to build a physical expensive prototype, whether it's clay or other types of material, they can constantly put the headset on, see it photorealistically, which I hope that you'll be able to see here shortly, and be able to make design decisions and have more types of interactions with stakeholders anywhere. So it could be multiple people, it could be you and I in the room together looking at the same model together, both with headsets, collaboratively, or we could call on a colleague that's over in Europe or Asia, and they could join that session. So I think this is something that's really exciting, is the power of this type of technology to speed things up, lower costs, but also be able to bring people more collaboratively together. If you think about the way we all went from telephone conference lines to video Teams calls, this next step is immersive meeting, right? And so you're able to get this telepresence that you don't get with Zoom or Teams meetings by being able to be in the same space, see the same kind of 3D models photorealistically without having to build them before they're ready. So you have more stakeholder engagement throughout that whole process. So this is also something that we find really interesting. The applications just keep opening up, and almost every day and every week there's some new customer or partner that has an idea of how to use our technology, which is really exciting.
They develop the software though, you just provide the headset. Do you ever have to make modifications for their software?
Sure, absolutely. And so sometimes it's like right outside of the box that it just works on our headset. And if they want to enable certain types of features, occasionally they'll do some modification or tweaking to their own application so that they can enable some of the things like photorealistic VR content or the foveated rendering, the pass-through cameras, that kind of stuff. But the great thing is that standards are becoming more and more, so you've got OpenXR, OpenVR, where most of the content just works right out the box. You can put the headset on and be able to engage with the application content, and then other times if you want to take it a little bit further, you're able to do some customization there as well. Well, so I think it's really vital, right? So the ability to get more people trained and be more ready in a more cost-effective and safe measure. I mean, people get hurt or killed all the time in training scenarios, and VR and immersive technology, XR, is a perfect thing for anything that's risky, impossible, dangerous, expensive. These are all great applications for VR and XR, and our professional grade aspects and kind of components allow you to, there's been limitations of what you actually could train or simulate in VR because it wasn't real enough or it wasn't powerful enough. It didn't create the type of immersion that a pilot or somebody within the DoD would need to be able to trust what they were seeing. So you need to fly as you train and train as you fly, right? And so it needs to be realistic. You need to be able to see small dials and gauges. You need to be able to read fine text. With our headset for the first time, people were able to see texture, be able to see things at distance, and be able to actually leverage this type of technology that allows you to scale so many more times. So you could have countless dozens of these different training platforms versus one of the old legacy. So it's also augmenting and expanding the ability to get more people trained, ready, and done safely and inexpensively.